Good morning, dear hearts. We're on lesson 64. Please subscribe. Today's lesson is Let Me Not Forget My Function. And the two lessons will bring in a little bit are 37 and 43 if you wanted to mark those or go back to those in your book. So I'm going to actually start with paragraph 3 in today's lesson because it ties things together, and it says, to review our last few lessons, your function here is to be the light of the world, a function given you by God. Forgiveness is my function as the light of the world, previous lesson. And it's only the arrogance of the ego that would lead you to question this, and only the fear of the ego that induces you to regard yourself as unworthy of the task assigned to you by God himself. God himself has said, this is your function, forgiveness is your function, you are the light of the world. Get to it. It doesn't say that. But this lesson starts by saying that this is another way of saying, let me not wander into temptation. Temptation, all of the things that the ego promises, all of the shiny trinkets and little vacant promises that the ego offers us to say, no, don't do that. Come, follow me, like a nymph that would lure sailors away in mythology. So this is what the ego is to us. It's a nymph, a trying to lure us. And it does that by showing us things with the body's eyes. But it says nothing the body's eyes seem to see can be anything but a form of temptation, since this was the purpose of the body itself. Lesson 43, God is my source, I cannot see apart from him, speaks to us about these perceptions and the things offered to us by the ego. And how it explains this is that, yes, there are these perceptions, but we were given the Holy Spirit as a mediator to help us come from the perception into knowledge or true perception. So with the mediator, the link for us that God has provided, he is going to show us, the Holy Spirit will show us and lead us and take us away from the temptation of the perceptions, so that all of those, every perception we have becomes purified, and now instead of leading us and tempting us, it will instead lead us to knowledge, which is to lead us to God. So we turn over everything to the Holy Spirit, because it says the Holy Spirit has another use for all the illusions you have made, and therefore he sees another purpose in them, to change them so that they are no longer tempting us and taking us away from God, but they are showing us the way to God. Paragraph 3, again, that our function here is to be the light of the world. And if God has told us this, then indeed it is not only feasible, it is possible, it's a sure thing. Paragraph 4 says, only by fulfilling the function given you by God will you be happy. Lesson 37 is, was, still is, that my holiness blesses the world. But what if we change and look at that as my happiness blesses the world? Because my happiness doesn't benefit just me. My happiness is going to benefit the entire sonship. Plus, today's lesson tells us that every decision we make is a decision whether to be happy or unhappy. Paragraph 4, only by fulfilling the function given you by God will you be happy. That is because your function is to be happy by using the means by which happiness becomes inevitable, that happiness becomes our only decision. It's the only one that makes sense for us. Every time, every moment, we are constantly in a space of deciding. The Course has told us this. And every time we choose, it says we choose whether or not to fulfill our function. We are really choosing whether or not to be happy. We choose between fear and love. We choose between the ego or truth. We choose between, am I going to make something with the ego mind, or am I going to decide to create with the Holy Spirit? The body and everything of the ego can never offer us the happiness and the joy that we will have and know when we decide with God and we truly choose. Instead of the ego world, we choose truth. All illusions, again, fall away. We want to forget about everything, the lures of the ego, and instead go and remember our function, which is to be happy, to forgive, to bring peace, and ultimately to save the world, which is what the last line of today's lesson says. The practicing, there's a lot of it today, as often as possible. Remember, let me not forget my function. Longer practice periods, 10 or 15 minutes, at least once today. The lines we are given to fold into, step into our practicing. Let me not forget my function. Let me not try to substitute my function for God's. Let me forgive and be happy. So forgiveness and happiness there go together. Then it says, in the frequent application of today's idea throughout the day, devote several minutes to reviewing these thoughts and then thinking about them and about nothing else. This will be difficult at first, particularly since you are not proficient in the mind discipline that it requires. Remember, our minds since the beginning of the year, untrained, not proficient, still have a lot of, thoughts, erroneous thoughts, illusory thoughts, things that are meaningless thoughts. So we have to perhaps repeat as we're trying to practice, let me not forget my function, and repeat it very often. And it also tells us, there's shorter practice periods with your eyes closed, with your eyes open. It's going to be a constant reviewing of this idea. Let me not forget my function. Let me not wander into temptation. Let me not be led and lured away from what my true function is. And then the last line of this lesson, and it's in italics, so it's prayer, says, this is the world, it is my function to save. I'm here to save the world. I'm here to bless the world. I'm here to bring happiness to the world. And that's it for today. I hope this helped. Please like, please share, please subscribe, please comment, please pray. We're praying for the happiness of everyone. Okay, we may not understand quite about the forgiveness, but let's pray for everyone to be happy. With that happiness will come the forgiveness, and will come the peace that we all, every mind is truly wanting. So that's it. Namaste.